Alrighty. And we are live. Hello, everyone. Hello, happy Sunday. Let me just check a few settings really fast. Should be good, but I always like to double check. Okay. Looks good. Looking good on my end. If the audio or video is off in any way, let me know. Hello, you guys. Hi there. Hello, Alice. Hello, Monica. Good morning. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever in the world you might be. Good morning, Rebecca. Go girl. Go girl. Welcome. Welcome back. Hello. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Hello, May. Anna Pony. Denver girl. Hello. Awesome. Welcome, you guys. We're going to go ahead and get started here in just a moment. I'd like to give it just a minute or so, 30 seconds or so, just to let people get the notification and come on in, get comfortable, get relaxed, and then we'll go ahead and jump into some Q&As. I hope you're all having a fantastic weekend so far. Hello, Sandra, Sylvia, Jamie. Hello from Arizona. Hello. Welcome, welcome. David, you made it. Yay. Good to have you. Hello. I've already got some good questions rolling in. Awesome. Yeah, we're going to dive in here in just a moment. I'm just checking the gain really quick. Still figuring out this new microphone. I always try to triple check and make sure. Love from India. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Hello. Thank you for joining. It must be incredibly late or early where you are. Thank you for being here. Hello, Jenna. Thank you so much for the interview with Haley. Yes. Oh my gosh. Y'all are so welcome. Yeah. Isn't that incredible? Isn't she incredible? Like, she's amazing. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Jana. Sincerely. She is just incredible. JT, hello. Oh, shits. Got some of my favorite people in here so far. Love your makeup. Thank you. Thank you. I've been getting a lot of requests for tutorials, so that I might be doing that soon. I don't know. Makeup tutorials are never really my bag, but I don't know. I've been getting a lot of requests, so that may be coming at some point in the not too distant future. Alrighty. We've got a good number of people here. Let's go ahead. Let me just check something else really quick. One sec, guys. Sorry. All right. We're looking good. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Welcome again, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining. I hope you all are having an amazing Sunday so far, or Monday, wherever in the world you might be. Ready to dive into some Q&As. It's my favorite time of the week. I absolutely love being here. I love interacting with all of you. I love the questions. I love providing feedback. So yeah, get yourself a drink if you haven't yet. Get yourself cozy. As far as, just a couple of announcements before jumping on in. I do got the links in my description box for those who may be new or don't know. If you're interested in signing up for my one-on-one coaching waitlist, there is a waitlist going on, though that may be opening. A couple spots may be opening shortly. So if that interests you, make sure to jump on the waitlist. And I've also got workshops and courses coming down in that description box, including I am working on right now, set to be released here in the next week or two, a self-concept masterclass, doing a thorough deep dive into the concept of self. I've had a lot of great feedback from the self concept workshop that I've put out, and I just want to take that further. I want to really begin to break that down even further. So I'll be announcing that more as we get closer to releasing it. But any information about my resources, I got it down there in the description box. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump on in after I have some caffeine. Oh my gosh, Alice, that is so cool. Since last week, some crazy things have happened. I wanted my bestie to move to the city I moved to, and she told me her and her boyfriend want to move there. And the flat that they looked at is just over the street from mine. Yes. Manifest that. Manifest your bestie. Yes. That's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. Y'all be neighbors soon. I love it. Your audio and video sync. Thank you, Go Girl. You're always looking out. You're always looking out. Thank you. That interview was amazing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Because Haley's circumstances, from anyone looking on the outside, should have been impossible. Should have been absolutely impossible. 15 years, no contact. SP lives in a different country, no means of communication. Yeah, that should have been impossible. Nothing's impossible. You were the best co-host on my. Oh, you explained everything really well. Thank you, sir. Thank you. What would you say to those Northwest Wind, I really like this question. What would you say to those who wish to access God's love? What meditations besides the I am? Good question. So, what meditations or what exercises can we do if we want to deepen the experience of I am, right? Connecting ourselves, closing in any distance to between us and God. I love that. I mean, the I am meditation is a fantastic exercise when it comes to uh, becoming more and more aware of that self, that awareness, that power that is you. But other than I am, there's another self inquiry exercise. I think it's just called self inquiry, and it's essentially it's a meditation where you're stripping back the layers of who you think you are by proving to yourself that you are not the things you think you are. If you Google it, you'll definitely get a lot more. You'll get a lot more information. A lot of great websites that talk about this, but you're essentially asking the question of who am I, and you're continuing to go back to that question of who am I. Because the mind, the ego, is going to try to come back with, oh, I'm Missy. I am my body. I'm my beliefs. I'm this. I'm a woman. I'm that. All of these things that we think we are, but we can prove to ourselves that that's actually not true. It's a fascinating exercise. So anybody who's interested in maybe going a bit deeper with consciousness and becoming more and more aware of your I amness, definitely look up self inquiry. That one will change your life. Will radically change your life. Denver girl, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Missy. I received a random article from my SP after 15 months. It was about Eric Clapton, the musician. He knows I saw him in the concert years ago. Nothing since for about 3 weeks. Wow. Wow. So you received an article from SP after 15 months of no contact. Dang. That is amazing. Yeah, I know. I'm not sure if you had a question in there. I know that there's a character limit as to how much you can type. So I'm going to be on the lookout to see if you had a question. But that is absolutely incredible. That is absolutely incredible. And To the best of your ability, and I know this is easier said than done, but to the best of your ability, do not take into consciousness that, it's been 3 weeks, it's been X amount of time that he hasn't reached back out again. Because in each moment to moment, it's a brand new start. It's a brand like every beat, every moment is brand new. So if we're continuing to go off this linear pattern of time, we're continuing to impress that it's been X amount of time. And I know it's a practice. I know it takes some getting used to, but instead of looking at it like it's been 3 weeks since he's reached out, anytime that you notice that feeling come up, anytime you notice that sense of separation, that's your cue to go into imagination, to imagine whatever you ideally want to experience, right? Like be with you in SP, be with your SP in imagination, and just continue to give yourself that. Yeah. What do I do now? Yeah. Yeah. Continue to go there in imagination. Continue to go there in imagination. If there's 3D silence, no matter. No matter. Because again, in each moment is a brand new start. Like it's a brand new selection that we get to make as far as what state of consciousness we want to embody next, right? So turning the attention away from the 3D, continue to go back in. Continue to go back in. I hope that makes sense. If you need me to clarify anything, let me know. All right, let me go back. Hello from Paris. Wow, hello. Hello, Andrea. Let me see. Where was I? When manifesting a pregnancy, but a negative test seems so real, what's the best way to stay in the end? Revising that the test was positive, or should I just focus on having the baby already? Good question. So in that case, is it better to revise that the test was positive, or better to just go to the end where you're already holding your baby? Um, and I do always encourage if able, as much as we're able to, go to the end. Go to the end. Go to the end. See yourself in imagination as a mother. See yourself holding your baby. Or you can hear other people congratulating you on the birth of your child. Things like that. Things that give us confirmation that we have in fact had a successful pregnancy, right? If the negative test is consistently coming up for you, like if that has become somewhat of an intrusive thought, and it seems like it just won't leave you alone, in that case, I would go and revise that the test was positive, right? If it feels like something that is big and it's perhaps creating some resistance to living in the end, I would revise so that the test was positive instead. Yeah, absolutely. But also make sure to continue to go to the end. Hello, hello. Just took your self-concept course. I'm going through the reading materials now. Oh, I hope you enjoy, Allie. Let me see. Y'all are so sweet. Y'all are so sweet. Thank you. How do I observe a thought without judging it? When I think of marriage, I feel like I may never get married and I start feeling sad. How do I observe this thought without judging it? Good question. Good question. And I think you're referring to the video that I released yesterday about intrusive thoughts. Yeah, and it's important to note that there may very well be moments where we react to those thoughts. Like reactions may still happen, If that's the case, let it happen, right? We don't wanna suppress anything, we don't wanna try to shove anything down or fight with ourself, because that's really just putting more emphasis on it. But it is a practice. It is a practice, and that starts to become more and more natural when we begin to see ourselves more as the operant power instead of ourselves as our self-concept or as our ego. Um, I would be practicing meditation if not already. If you're not already practicing meditation, it is an incredibly helpful practice, especially when it comes to learning to observe the mind and just being aware of the contents of the mind. Because while in meditation, you're gonna have thoughts, come in and come back out again. That's going to happen. So absolutely focus attention meditation, right? Just being in silence for a moment and just for even a couple of minutes and just practice letting thoughts come in and come back out again without trying to stop it. Uh, like I said, it is a practice. And also when you notice a negative thought, if you have a negative thought come in and you notice it's a thought that is very much it resonates with you, but not in a good way, uh, remind yourself that that is the thought that Monica is having, right? Like Monica is having this thought. Like the concept of self that is Monica is having this thought, is feeling this feeling, is feeling sad, is feeling scared, whatever it might be. But what that's gonna do is sort of force you to look at it more from a third party perspective, right? More objectively. So you can start to get used to seeing it as awareness and not as the concept of you. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, definitely practice meditation if you haven't yet, if you're not already. And yeah, just practice assigning, like giving a name to that thought or say that this is a thought that Monica's having. This is an emotion that Monica's feeling, right? Because that's not who I am. I am aware of this thought, right? I hope that helps. You are so welcome, you guys. It's called Neti Neti meditation. Yes, yes, Chi girl. Yeah, the self-inquiry, another form of self-inquiry meditation is the Neti Neti meditation. Yes. Finding my spot. I do have a question. Really struggling lately with not feeling delusional when it comes to revision and knowing my desires already exist. I'm open to any help. Absolutely, go girl. Absolutely. And yeah, I think that's Lord knows I struggle with that too. I struggled a lot with that. Yeah, it's hard not to feel crazy sometimes. Like, what am I doing? Like, trying to change the past? That sounds absolutely bizarre. Um, One thing that really helped me was I stopped, like, I wasn't trying when I would do revision, when I would apply revision, I wasn't trying to do it anymore from the lens of, like, I'm trying to change the past, right? So I was keenly aware and accepted that this negative event happened, right? I wasn't trying to deny it. I wasn't trying to tell myself that this negative event didn't happen. I acknowledged that it did, but what I reminded myself of is that creation is finished. It already exists. So that includes events of the past too, right? It's all done because there is no past, there is no future. Everything is right now. So that means that there's also a state where this desired outcome happened instead. So there's already a reality where the past event was different than how I recalled it. And I just let myself go there. I just let myself go there and like, well, what would it have been like if that happened instead? What would it have been like if that happened instead? So I wasn't trying to force myself to believe that I'm changing the past or that this event that I clearly remembered didn't happen, right? Because those kinds of things are absolutely going to make you feel delusional. Um, and that helped considerably. And it helped me to be able to actually go to that revised place and not fight with myself over what happened and what actually happened. But just being able to do that made it so I was able to revise it. And sure enough, those bad memories did get overridden by my revised good memories. So, yeah, um, try to take that approach of we're just going into imagination to see what would this experience have been like instead of trying to convince ourselves something else happened. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Um, and knowing my desires already exist. And it might also help too, um, just start to look into some of the science that's already out there that's starting to point to the fact that there is no one objective reality. Um, like, for example, the physicists who won the Nobel Prize last year in what they've discovered, um, more and more is pointing to there's multiple realities, there's parallel realities, right? And it's up to the observer as to which outcome is going to happen. Yeah. Hey, Missy, loving your videos and especially your eye makeup. Thank you, Ryan. How do I really manifest back my ex when nothing seems to be moving around in the 3D and he said he doesn't love me anymore? Yeah, no, and I know, yeah, the 3D can be a bitch. The 3D can just be a bitch, understandably. Um, how do I really manifest my ex back? Imagination. Imagination. Continuing to go to that place in imagination. And I know that we are primed, we are wired pretty much to continually look to the 3D for confirmation and look for signs, look for movement. I'm actually going to be coming out with a video talking more about signs and birds before land and stuff like that. And I know that's almost a subconscious instinct for us to do, but to the best of our ability, anytime that we notice a lack, anytime we notice a feeling of lack, sadness, missing that person, wanting to be with that person, give yourself permission to go have that experience in your imagination because it feels good to do so. It feels good to do so, right? Um, the second thing that I'd recommend is continue to build your faith and trust in the law because a lot of the doubt stems from lack of trust in the law itself. A lot comes down to because if you had full faith in the law, if you were completely confident that what you imagine creates your reality, there would be no resistance. And we would stop looking to the 3D because none of that matters, right? So, continue to test the law, observe, observe the observe the connection, the relation between the inner world and the outer world, and just continue to give yourself the experience in imagination. Whenever you notice yourself missing SP, wanting to reach out, give yourself that experience in imagination. Just go there. Just continue to go there. Your last video was really good. Oh, thank you, David. Thank you. It needed to be said. I was definitely one of those people that battled constantly with my thoughts. Constant, like almost to the point where I literally felt insane. I thought I was going crazy. And I don't wish anyone to go through that. Nope. Um, I need my spot. I'm manifesting a different version of my husband who I love very much. I want to manifest a version of him who wants more children as much as I do. Do you have any suggestions on what to focus on? Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm not sure if you have a go to way of imagining, if you have a technique that you prefer, if you visualize, if you use affirmations, but whatever the technique is, I mean, they're all there to serve the same purpose, and that's to help you live in the end. Um, I would imagine you can create a scene, you can create a conversation such as, you know, just having another child and hearing confirmation from your husband that he's so grateful. He's so grateful for the new baby, right? Just anything that confirms that he is on board, he is happy, he is loving the idea of more kids, right? Whatever that looks like for you. Whatever that looks like for you. And whatever technique works best for you, continue to implement that. Continue to go there. But get the confirmation. What would it look like and be like if you now had confirmation from him that he wants to have more kids as well? What would that be like? And let yourself go there. Oh my goodness, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Amy. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing of yourself so generous. Oh, thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. I love being here. I absolutely love being here. And Lord knows there were so many times on this journey that all I wanted was somebody to talk to, somebody to ask a question, someone. Yeah. So when I made this channel, I told myself as soon as I'm able to, I want to do live Q&As. Because man, if I had that back in my day, it would save me a lot of headache. I made my desire normal, but I find myself still wanting to keep imagining until I see it in the 3D because I can't stop thinking about it. Does that mean that I still haven't reached the Sabbath? Good question. So, your desire feels normal, right? So it feels natural to you, but you still desire to imagine it. You're still desiring to use techniques and imagine it until you see it in the 3D because you can't stop thinking about it. Um, so is it more of a feeling of it's done, but I need to be sure? So I need to keep going until I get the 3D confirmation, right? I take it that's what you mean? Um, because, well, when we enter the Sabbath, it truly feels like there's nothing left to do. There's nothing left to do because that impression is already it's already impressed, right? The seed is already planted. And once the seed is planted, it must grow. It has to, right? So if it's still feeling like waiting for it, if it still feels like you're thinking a lot about it from the place of I don't have it yet, um, yeah, that may be indication that you're not yet in the Sabbath. But that's okay because you can continue to go there. You know exactly what to do. So I would continue to imagine until you reach that place of it'll be a natural desire to drop it, like drop the techniques, right? I don't need to imagine anymore. I don't need to visualize or do affirmations because it's already done. It'll be a very like you'll feel full, you'll feel satisfied, like I'm good. I don't need to do this anymore. So once that is reached, that's how you know you're in the Sabbath. So until that feeling comes, I would continue to go in imagination. Yeah. Robin, hello. Hi. You made it. Long time no see. I have a question. How do you manifest financial abundance when you have to figure out how much money you have for food and bills and try not to worry about it? Oh, good question. How do we manifest money when the 3D is like in our face about bills and lack of money and try not to worry about it? Yeah, and that's so imagining for money, living in the end for that. I mean, obviously, we still have to interact with the 3D, right? We still have to do our 3D things. We're still going about our day having this 3D experience. So there's things that we need to go through the notions of. Um, so it's not to say like completely just toss out all your responsibilities, but as much and as often as you can, go there in imagination. Go back there. Like if you already have a scene, if you already have an idea of what that would look like if you were now financially abundant, if you had all the wealth and success that you could want, you could ever need, um, continue to bring that up. And especially at the end of the day before bed, I would revise the day to where it went however you would have wanted it to go. Like bills were paid, everything was fine, no big deal, something like that, right? Really take that with you. Especially, like I said, those windows before bed and in the morning are incredibly powerful. So if the day did not go the way that you wanted it to go, if you had to do a bunch of things, crunch numbers, worry about money, if all those things happened, I would revise at the end of the day instead to where the day went the day went perfectly, right? You went out and bought yourself something lovely, whatever that looks like, whatever that might be. But just something that implies that you have more than enough, right? You are abundant and continue to go there. I know it can be tricky navigating the 3D and the responsibilities of the 3D and living in the end. And there's going to be moments where I know that's going to feel tricky to do. So, but as much as you are able to, as much as you can, just try to tap back into that. And if nothing else, before bed I would revise. Thank you for the super chat. Yes to life. Thank you. The 15-year story was heartwarming. That's Thanks for posting. Please make a video about why manifesting an SP isn't evil or selfish and actually a great journey of self-discovery. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that needs to be a thing. That really needs to be a thing. Because I know for a lot of people, they come to the law of assumption from the law of attraction. And I know in the law of attraction, it's very much frowned upon to manifest a specific person, right? Because we're imposing their free will, we're impeding on their free will, and all of that noise. So, yeah, yeah, that could be a really helpful one. Noted. Because it's not evil or selfish because there's no manipulation involved. Like, we're not changing the other person. That's not what this is about. The only one we're changing is ourselves. But yeah, that's a good idea for a video. Thank you. Hello, Amina. Hi. Good to see you. It's been a while. Let me find my spot. Hopefully, you can give some perspective on this. Whenever I successfully do sats or really start to feel the new story for real, the worst manifests almost instantly or the next day. I get derailed a lot. Oh, yeah, that is more common than you might think. More common than you might think. Check out the video that I made about ego backlash. Um, Damn, I should probably just remember the title by now. I've brought this up a few times, but I made a video talking about ego backlash. The title of the video is "Why We Struggle to Manifest," or "Why Do We Struggle to Manifest," or dealing with resistance. Um, yeah, dealing with resistance when manifestation. Damn it, I should go find that video. But I made a video about ego backlash. If anybody else happens to remember the title name off the top of your head, that would be super helpful. But the point is, a lot of times that is textbook how you know that it's backlash, because it tends to always happen both seemingly out of the blue and after we've been doing good, after we've actually started to do really well, we've started to get into a rhythm, we're starting to feel really good. We just had a really amazing sat session. And then shortly after, it's like everything just goes to shit. Either in the 3D or we just have a, horrible reaction and we feel terrible. That's ego backlash. 100%. And again, it's incredibly common because the ego doesn't like change. So when we are successfully changing, because that's what this is all about, right? It's changing that conception of self or ego, changing the beliefs and assumptions. And to the ego, that's perceived as a threat. That's perceived as a threat. Yeah. So the first thing to know is have an understanding of what is happening and why. So that way, when if you do notice any kind of backlash, if you do start to become aware of it, like just the knowing of what's going on is half the battle. Because where this becomes so challenging for people is we're starting to do really well, we're seemingly doing really well, and then out of nowhere, it's like everything just goes to hell. So we panic, right? We're like, what the hell just happened? I was doing so good. Why did this terrible thing just show up? Why am I feeling like shit? Ego backlash. So knowing that is half the battle. Is half the battle. Like, yeah, okay, I see you there. I see you. Yep. But definitely check out the video that I made talking about ego backlash. And I promise one of these days I'll remember the name of the stupid title for it. And if you type in Missy Renee, like struggling to manifest, it should pop up in the search bar. Let me see. Finding my spot. So, to create a natural assumption, use facts you already believe to be true and then add smaller thoughts until the bigger assumption becomes the most obvious thought. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think I get what you're saying, Jana. So, to create a natural assumption, um, start with facts we already believe and then add smaller details to it until it becomes the bigger assumption. I take it as what you mean. Yeah, yeah, that's one way of doing it. I mean, effectively, that's what we're doing in imagination, right? And that's the purpose of imagination and going into imagination is so we can start to become more familiar and identify with that new state, right? That new state of consciousness, because we can always go there in imagination, right? Even if we've never experienced it in the 3D, we can get an idea of it in imagination of what it would feel like, what would it be like, what kind of person would you be, how would you carry yourself, how would you talk, how would you think. We can construct that in our imagination and then embody that, right? Until that new assumption becomes second nature to you, until it feels like home for you, right? But yeah, if you starting out going off of facts that you already believe, if there's anything that you naturally assume that can um, support the assumption you're trying to change, right? If you have any facts that can support the new idea of self, then use those 100%. 100%. I hope I made sense. And if I misunderstood the question, let me know. My biggest issue is I keep checking the 3D or looking outside to see if it works. I'm in contact with SP, yep, and that makes it harder for me. I feel like he's immortal to it. Yeah, yeah. And I know checking the 3D is it's so tempting, right? It's always there. Like we're in it. Um, yeah. And I mean we've all done that. We've all like literally everybody who's found out about the law, who's ever known about the law, checks the 3D or has done that. I mean, so don't guilt yourself or feel bad. That's what we're kind of wired to do. That said, if you catch yourself, if you do like become aware of what you're doing, I mean, just remind yourself like you're not going to find anything new out there. You're not going to find anything new out there. It's first going to be a feeling in here. It's first going to be something that feels natural and resonant to you, right? Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. The 3D is it's a terrible gauge to see if there's any movement happening because there may be a whole lot happening and you would have no idea in your like and conscious awareness in your day to day. Like you don't know consciously what's going on behind the scenes, what the I am is doing, and how things are being shaped and molded for you. But when we continue to look at the 3D and see it's not there yet, what are we continuing to reinforce? It's not here yet. It's not here yet. It's not here yet. Which is only continuing to force, yeah, and round we go. Yeah. Um, and it really just it becomes having to check ourselves. Like having to check yourself, like be your own Abdullah, slam the door. Slam the door in your own face if you have to. Like no joke. No joke, because we're never gonna find anything out in the 3D by looking for it. Will never happen. And I say that with love. Hi, Missy. I have a question. What is the best technique to manifest something back? An object that I've lost or thrown away many, many years ago and that I regret now and I want it back. Good question. Good question. Wait, where'd you go? Damn it, the chat just moved on me. Damn it. There you are. What is the best technique? So that is going to be completely subjective. When it comes to the best technique to manifest, it's going to be completely subjective. And I'm going to make a video talking more about this because I know that we come here to try to find like the holy grail technique that's going to work for everybody all the time across the board. But that's just not I mean, everybody's going to have what resonates with them the most. So the best technique is whichever one feels most natural to you, whatever one feels more real to you or helps you to tap into that imaginal act with the least effort, right? It doesn't feel fake. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like we're trying too hard. So, whatever technique that is, that's the best one every time. Hi, Missy. When manifesting a change of behavior in SP, do I change my self concept or select a different version of them or both? Good question. Um, and yeah, no, I'm glad you brought this question up because a lot of people think that these are two separate things. They're not. Um, when we change the self concept, that is selecting a different version of them. Like they go hand in hand, right? If we change internally, if we change our belief, our assumption, our story about that person, that is in and of itself selecting a different version of them because you're moving into a whole different state where they're going to be showing up differently. So yeah, it doesn't need to, and that's a lot of people like, should I focus on self concept or should I focus on SP? It's hand in hand, guys. If you change your self-concept, your SP will change. It has to. That's how this works. So yeah, change the conception of self and you will select a different state with a different version of them. By the way, my bestie didn't even know where my flat was, just noted. Oh, she didn't even know that she was picking a flat right next to you? That's awesome. That's awesome. Hi, Missy. Affirmations are manifesting control of alcohol and or not getting hangovers or gaining weight from alcohol. Thank you. Yeah. So how to manifest what drinking in moderation, not getting hangovers, all of that. I would use whatever technique resonates most for you, like whichever one. If you're somebody who likes visualizing, if you're somebody who likes affirmations, but I would just imagine confirmation that you are not getting hangovers, right? So that could be, like, for example, a huge go-to of mine, one technique that I love and use all the time is inner conversations, right? Inner conversations where I'm having a conversation with somebody in my imagination and I'm hearing confirmation from them of the thing that I desire to experience. And then I'm confirming that, right? So it's hearing that congratulations or hearing somebody in imagination say, wow, I'm so proud of you. How do you do it? Things like that. That's one example. But play around with different techniques. If we don't want to just try to force this upon ourselves. So use whichever comes most naturally to you, but continue to see what that would look like if you were now the version of you that never got hangovers and never gained weight from alcohol. I also manifested my new home. My roommate has the same necklace and the same tattoo at the same spot. I manifest easily, but people are hard for me. Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people can resonate with that. That manifesting people is seemingly harder. Yeah. I mean that is our perception though, right? When it comes to people, I mean, there's the whole free will thing, which we've been very much like we've been very conditioned to believe they have free will. They do things independently of us, outside of us. That can be a hard one to break. And just there's a lot of significance when it comes to SP manifestations. There's a lot of gravity to those, right? And those manifestations feel like they carry a lot of weight and thus a lot of pressure to do it right and to be perfect at it. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But ultimately, when it comes to the law, when it comes to the law itself, there is no difference. There is no difference. None. Oh, where'd I go? Where'd I go? Where'd I go? For me, the hardest part of manifestation, for me, the hardest part of manifesting my SP is to not react to no movement in the 3D and sometimes movement that I don't like. Any tips to calm myself down? Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The 3D, bane of our existence. Yeah. So, what are some things that we can help do to calm ourselves down? Um, I mean, first and foremost, if we find ourselves reacting, like having a reaction or noticing, you know, that anger or frustration bubbling up to the surface, don't try to suppress it. Don't try to fight with yourself. If you need to explode, explode. If you need to blow up, just let it out. And I know it's seemingly so contradictory to what we learn here, but suppressing those feelings is not going to make them go away either. And reactions are subconscious, so it's not like we really have conscious control over that anyways. So if it happens, let it out. Because we can always come back later once we have, calmed down, once we sort of released all that and we feel better, we feel lighter, we feel better, we can come back and revise that instance, at another time. So let yourself react and just focus on whatever you can do to help yourself decompress, like calm down from that. So anything like if you're noticing anxiety, right? Breathing exercises, techniques to help specifically with reducing anxiety, those can be lifesavers in those moments where we're feeling really anxious. We trigger that fight or flight response. We're feeling like a million miles a minute. Taking long, slow, deep breaths and just do whatever you can do in that moment to help yourself come down from that, first and foremost. Because it's going to feel very hard from a place where when we're triggered, when we're reacting and we're upset, it's going to feel very difficult from that state to immediately jump to living in the wish fulfilled. So first things first, just allow yourself, do whatever you need to do to get it out, let it out, and then help yourself calm down, take some breaths, do some meditations, go for a walk, any activities, anything that you have that you enjoy that helps you, you know, anything like that I would do. And then once you are feeling better, once you have sort of you've reacted, you've let it out, you're doing good, then you can come back and revise and you can then direct yourself back into the wish fulfilled. I hope that makes sense. Missy, I reacted to my SP and we both said some very hurtful things. Should I just see him like it never happened and like I desire him to be? He also blocked me. Yeah, yeah. So if there was a fight that was had, if things were said that were not nice, revise it. 100% revise it. Revise it. Because if we try to just like shove it down and pretend like nothing happened, that reaction is still very much alive within you, right? Every time we have a reaction like that, it leaves an impression, right? So we want to uproot that seed. We want to get rid of that. We don't want to just carry stuff around from the past because the past never stays in the past. So I would absolutely revise 100%. Hi, Missy. Is Birds Before Land part of the Bridge of Incidents? How soon after birds does the manifestation show up? You're the best teacher. Good question. Um, and this is actually the next video that I have coming out. I have a lot of videos that are recorded, some need to be edited, but the next one that I have coming out is talking specifically about Birds Before Land, um, and sort of some things that we can understand better about it. Is Birds Before Land part of the Bridge of Incidents? Uh, it can be. It certainly can be. Yeah. How soon after birds does the manifestation show up? Ultimately, that depends. When it comes to how long does the manifestation take to show up, really, really difficult to say. And I wish I could give a more concrete answer but everybody's going to be different. It depends on how often we are living in, like, are we living in the end or are we going back to being double-minded? So like, what are we doing? Where are we dwelling? That's what's going to determine the length of time. Like, where we dwell in imagination and continuing to go into imagination until that desire feels natural to us. Once that desired state feels natural to us, that's when it happens like that. Yeah. But I'm gonna make a video talking more about birds before land because that one's gotten confused. A lot of people have some misconceptions about that, about what that means. Hi, Missy. Been working on self concept and feeling great. Awesome. And going into the end with my scenes since many months. So far, my SP hasn't said he wants me, though. How do I specifically create that? Okay, so you've been working on self concept, and and to clarify, like, what does that mean? Work on self concept? Just because that's good. I notice a lot of people say that, um, but everybody also has a different idea of what that means. So I'm curious as to what your idea of working on self concept means, um, and feeling great, which is fantastic, right? We want to feel good. And going into the end with my scenes since many months. Okay, so you're focusing on you and building your self concept and going into the end with your SP. I take it for many months. So far, my SP hasn't reached out. Well, my question for you then is, how is your mental diet in the day to day? What are the thoughts, reactions, feelings that you are noting in your day to day? Because that's going to be your gauge. That's going to tell you everything. Our mental diet is going to tell us everything that we need to know. If we're doing it right, if we're not, all of that. Because it's not the techniques themselves that manifest. The techniques are there to help us to suspend disbelief, live in the end, and enjoy imagination, but on their own, that's not what manifests, right? So, and I ask you this because if we are, imagining living in the end, working on self concept, but also checking the 3D, wondering where it is, why are they not here yet? What am I doing wrong? If we're doing that, that's double mindedness, right? And it's the double mindedness that gets us every time. So I would say pay close attention to your mental diet, pay close attention to the thoughts, reactions, moods, feelings that you notice in your day to day, especially in relation to your SP. What story do you hold about SP? Like when SP comes to mind, what are the first thoughts, reactions, feelings that you notice? Because again, that's going to tell you everything about your concept of self. And by concept of self, that also includes how you think and view and feel about SP, right? Like what story you dominantly believe about SP. And so if any of those wires are not crossing, yeah, yeah. So just keen observation in the day to day, and then you can start to see, oh, okay, that's where I've been double minded. This is where perhaps I've been, not as observant at the story that I've been telling about me and my person. So now I can change that. I hope that makes sense. Oh, thank you, Northwest Wind. Thank you. When you say imagination, do you mean visualizing or like scripting and affirming as well? Yeah. No, when I say imagination, I mean your internal world. Your imagination is your thoughts. It is like everything going on internally, the inner dialogue you have going on. It's moods, reactions, feeling, right? Like how we analyze things, how we plan things. It's basically everything that's going on in the mind. That's all imagination. Imagination is your internal world. There's a huge misconception in this community that imagining means visualizing. And visualization is just one aspect of your imagination, which also includes scripting and affirming as well. Those will be things that you're scripting and affirming to get to that feeling and imagination. That's all taking place in your imagination, right? That's all imagination. So when you hear imagination, think your inner world. When we trust in imagination, life becomes an adventure. Yes, David. Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. Missy, is the formula really as simple as decide, choose to be the new story, and persist? That's it? Yeah, that's it. That's it. Define your aim or decide what you desire. Choose to be the version of you that already has that desire, is already living that experience in your imagination, and keep going. Keep going. Continue to go back to that imaginal act. Continue to go there in imagination until it feels natural to you, until it feels completely normal to you. Yeah. Yeah. I know everyone's like, it's too easy. It's too easy. Well, it's easy in theory, I should say. Thank you, Bluebird. Thank you. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Sorry, I'm trying to find my spot. Ah, um, Hey, Missy, how can I deal with time when it comes to manifesting? I get a lot of signs in SP, and I get a lot of signs, and SP still looks at my stories on social media, which I love, but it kind of makes me feel impatient. LOL. Yeah, um, yeah, and this is why one of the biggest things that we're practicing here, one of the biggest things that we're learning to do here is to shift the focus from the external world to the internal world, which I know is very much not in our nature. We always look for confirmation in the 3D. We're reversing that. We're going within. So if you're noticing a feeling of impatience, if you're noticing why is it not here yet, that is your cue. That is you saying, "Hey, it's been too long since you have lived in this state in imagination. You've been spending too much time in the 3D, so let's go back to imagination. Let's go back and capture that feeling again of what it would be like as the version of you that already has what you desire." Um, yeah, because manifestation is paradox upon paradox upon paradox, and one of those is the less we think about time, the faster it comes. Yeah. So if you notice impatience, feelings of impatience, that's your cue. Time to go back in imagination. Give yourself that feeling again. He made a 180 in 24 hours and contacts me during every SP meditation. Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, change can happen quick. Hi, Missy. I've been trying to manifest something for someone else in order to help them. Do I manifest for them like I would manifest for myself? Any tips, please? Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You would, for manifesting for somebody else, you would do it the same as you do for yourself. Yeah. Only instead, you are hearing confirmation from them that they got whatever it is that they desire, right? So, for example, if you had a friend that lost their job and they wanted to be employed, you would imagine hearing confirmation from them that they got the job, something of that sort. But it's the same kind of imaginal act as far as like what technique to use. Uh, Whichever one works best for you, exactly as you would for manifesting for yourself. Yeah. Hi, Missy. When I do my imaginal acts, I feel satisfied, but afterward, I definitely still feel the want and yearning for my desire. Still hungry. Does this feeling go away after a while of repetition? Yes. Yes. And that's not uncommon at all at first. When we're still getting used to going into imagination and coming out of imagination, um, there's still very much that attachment to the 3D. So we're going to go from feeling really good to, oh man, but it's not here now. Like out here, it's not here. And that's going to happen. Um, with practice, with that repetition of continuing to go back to imagination, that will lessen. That wanting and yearning in the 3D will go away. Absolutely. What could be the reason to still doubt the law, even though we have manifested so many things? And why is it up and down sometimes? Super confident and in a state of the wish fulfilled, and then insecure and unsure? Good question. So, why is it when we've manifested so many things, proved this to ourselves so many times, that for this one thing, it's we waver, right? Um, well, and it falls back on your beliefs and assumptions about whatever that might be. So, for example, if you may feel confident about money, finances, health, like every area of your life, you may feel pretty solid within yourself. But when it comes to this one area, when it comes to relationships, perhaps there's a lot of you know a lot of things in contrast there, right? A lot of beliefs that are in contrast with the desire of what you want, right? Many limiting beliefs around relationships, not feeling good enough, things like that. Yeah. And then when it's something that feels very important to us, when it feels like something that is a big deal, like an SP, now there's pressure. Now there's a lot of weight, there's a lot of gravity to this desire. And then we approach manifestation from the place of like, I have to get this perfect or it's not going to happen. Like I can't F this up. I can't screw this up. I got to do it perfect. And so we're constantly in a state of fear, basically. So that's how we can become double-minded, even if we've seen so many things manifest, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the more that we continue to go there, the more that you continue to give yourself that experience and imagination, that will subside as well. That fear and double-mindedness will subside as well. It has to. Oh, have a good day, Sandra. I have to leave the chat now because I'm helping street animals. Oh, you are such a good person. Thank you for doing that. I work with a local shelter myself. Animals are too good for us. Missy, do you still read regular books or materials that are usually 3D focused? If so, do you just take what makes sense and discard the rest? Yeah. Yeah. You mean books that are not esoteric or, uh, I guess, new age or new thought? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My husband and I are huge history buffs. We read a lot of history. And yeah, I'll take what I'll take what is good, uh, revise what I don't like, or imagine a world where this thing hadn't happened instead. Spend a lot of time in imagination. A lot of time in imagination, but I do. I enjoy all sorts of things. I not just not just spiritual new age, although that is my favorite, obviously. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, both of you. Thank you. When being in the Sabbath, does it feel like being open to allow someone else? 1.5 year with SP, never felt easy to allow anyone. Now it feels like, why do I want SP and desire fulfilled? Good question, and I hope I understand this right. So when you're in the Sabbath, does it feel like you're open to allow someone else? It can. It can. Um, what's actually happening when you move into the Sabbath, you're no longer in a state of desiring. You're no longer in a state of, that separation, that wanting, that longing. So it can feel like, I'm good. I'm good. Which I know a lot of people can get alarmed by that. I've had people show up and be like, "Missy, why do I, it feels like I don't want them anymore, or it feels like I don't care if they come back anymore." Well, that's just the lack of desiring, right? Like when you are already in the relationship with them, when you're already in a relationship, you don't desire or long for something that you already have. So when that drops, it can certainly feel, you know, different. It feels like, yeah, you're just opening. You're at ease, you're at peace. Yeah, that's very common. Very common. Yeah, that sounds like the Sabbath to me, how you describe it. Yeah. And it's not necessarily that we don't want our person back. And I mean, the easiest way to tell is just to ask yourself, if my SP were to come like knock on my door right now, would I take him back? And if the answer is yes, then there you go. But yeah, it's not uncommon once we reach the Sabbath to no longer have that sense of desire. And thank you, Monica, for the super chat. How do I stop being afraid of what's running in my head like an image manifesting? I'm just trying to let it be there, how to handle it. So, how do we stop being afraid of what's in our mind? Like a thought or an image of something that we don't want? Good question. And definitely check out the video that I made yesterday if you haven't seen it yet, because it's all about intrusive thoughts and the approach that we should be taking with intrusive thoughts, right? I know our natural reaction is to panic if we notice something negative. I mean, of course, we don't want to have bad thoughts there. We don't want to feel anxious. That's just a given. But if we're fearing a negative thought from the place of I'm going to screw up my manifestation, we're just adding another layer of fear onto all of this, right? It serves no purpose. But I guess how to stop being afraid is, first and foremost, know and understand yourself as the operant power, and that thoughts in and of themselves don't hold power. They have no power over you. They have, like, to God, nothing has power over God. So there's literally nothing that holds power over you ever. Another thing is I certainly noticed for myself was when I was suppressing a lot of my fear, when I was trying to just bottle and shove down a lot of the fear and intrusive thoughts, um, that would just make him come back even more. Like it would start to become more and more frequent that I'd have these negative thoughts because I was just trying to like shove it down, like don't even look at it, don't pretend it's not there. Yeah. So this could be indication that perhaps you have been suppressing some of the feelings, some of the thoughts, some of the fears. Um, yeah. If you need to react, let yourself react. Get it off your chest. Just like I was saying earlier, get it out, you know, react if you need to react because you can always come back to it later. You can always come back and revise later once you're feeling better because once we have once we do finally release that, once we do finally like let it out, we feel better afterwards, right? We feel lighter afterwards. And from there, it becomes so much easier to revise, to go back to the state of the wish fulfilled. So basically, your thoughts are not what hold power. Your thoughts never have what hold power. And even if we do have a reaction, even if we do, impress a bad seed, we have the power to uproot that seed. We have the power to change it, no matter what. No matter what. You cannot lose. You literally cannot lose. Sincerely. Yeah. Go back to the first principle, go back within, go back to remembering who you are. And as soon as you're able to, go back to the end, continue to go back there. These negative thoughts will subside. They will. How to change our inner state slash self-concept when our body is really triggered and doesn't allow us. I have CPTSD. SP has been with third party for 1.5 years. So how do we change our inner state slash self-concept when our body is really triggered and doesn't allow us? Good question. If we are in that trigger, if our body is triggered like in this moment, we don't, well, I don't recommend trying to jump from there to the wish fulfilled. Like, I don't recommend trying to force yourself to go live in the end if you're actively noticing a trigger going off, or anxiousness or spiraling. I know that in those moments we tend to panic and try to force ourselves into the wish fulfilled. Rarely, if ever, works like that. The first thing that I would do is, whatever you can do, whatever you need to do to help alleviate that trigger first, alleviate that anxiety first, help your body to shut off that uh, fight or flight response first, right? Basically, we want to let ourselves calm down. We want to get to a place where we're more calm or neutral, and from there go back to living in the end. From a more calm, neutral state, or a state that feels better when we're not actively triggered, then we want to take advantage of the wish fulfilled, like going back there in imagination. But yeah, don't try to force it in the middle of a spiral. That will be really challenging. You likely will be met with a lot of resistance. Yeah. And I'm so sorry. I went through a lot of the same on my journey. Yeah. Damn, y'all making it rain today. Thank you for the super chat. Y'all are awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. I asked my higher self to show me where I stand in my subconscious related to my manifestation. I had a dream. I was in my SP's birthday and third party was there. So you had a dream that you were at your SP's birthday and third party was there? Yeah. So when it comes to dreams, dreams are sort of a window to the subconscious. It's what we like, what's going on with us subconsciously. It's that ability to see a window into what may be going on, things that may not be conscious surface level, right? Like we may not be aware consciously of these things, so they'll come to us in dreams. And oh wait, sorry, I thought you had another part to the question there. So yeah, whatever comes to us in dreams, it's feedback. It's feedback letting you know if there is still something there subconsciously. And in what you described there, so being at a dream at SP's birthday and third parties there, uh, did you notice any feeling? Did you notice any reaction to it? Did you like take note of how you were feeling in that dream? Because that's also going to be cueing you in to like where you're occupying, like what state you're occupying, if that makes sense. You can also revise dreams, by the way. So if the dream was not ideal and probably is not entirely ideal in that circumstance, I would revise it to where you and SP were celebrating their birthday. Something lovely, something that is ideal instead. Thank you for the super chat, Brooke. You guys are amazing. Thank you for the super chat. How do you know if you've impressed your subconscious? That's the $1,000,000 question. You'll know you've impressed your subconscious mind based on your reactions. Your reactions are s- super, super, super important to tell you in no uncertain terms what you are actually believing and feeling into, what state you're occupying more often than not. It'll be your reaction. So if you have successfully left that subconscious impression, your reactions will change. You will not react the same once you move into a different state, the reaction will be different. Yeah. So if you're noticing that a lot of the same types of reactions, feelings, thoughts, moods are coming up, keep going in imagination. It may not be that we've gotten to that place where we planted that seed just yet. Yeah. And another reason why I talk so much about self observation and the importance of self observation, because we might think that we're living in the end. We might think that we are, doing everything right, so to speak, but it's going to be based on your reactions. That's going to tell you everything, like what you actually believe and what state you are actually dwelling in. Just want to share some success. I manifested money. It is always coming in, getting ready to close on my next house. Awesome, Robin. Forget SP for now. I'm living my best life. Ah, that's awesome. Girl, get it. That's amazing. Yay. Yay. Always live your best life. Oh. Dealing with a lot of ghosting in my relationships, um, in dating and in personal relationships. What is going on? Is this a self concept issue or does it mean I'm ghosting myself? Uh, Good question, Emma. Yeah, so the 3D is always feedback, right? We want to look at the 3D like feedback because it's always just the reflection of the mirror, right? It's always reflecting to us what we are holding in consciousness. So if there's a lot of ghosting going on, yeah, I would be very observant as to like what are the natural thoughts and reactions you're having in regard to relationships. Is there a fear that you're going to get ghosted before it happens? Is there apprehension that this person is actually going to show up for you? Those are all kind of your cue as to what state you're dwelling in and what is the self concept that you hold. Um, yeah, so I would continue to just observe how you're reacting. Observe if you're noticing any fear of being ghosted before it happens. That's all going to cue you in. But aside from that, make sure you are also going in imagination and going back to that state that you desire to occupy. Like what you desire to experience, whatever that looks like. In this case, if that is being chosen, right, feeling seen, uh, being first in someone's life, I would continue to go there in imagination. Yeah. And what would that look like for you? Thank you for the super chat, Melissa. I know and feel that my manifestation is done, but how can I get out of I am waiting for it now mode? Oh, stupid waiting mode. And so yeah. So what do we do if we know that manifestation is done, but we're in waiting mode? Well, if we are in waiting mode, then in that moment, at least in that moment right there, we've fallen out of the wish fulfilled, right? Like again, that's sort of our cue because we can't be waiting for something that we've already feel like we have or already like know that it's coming, know that it's done. Um, so take it as a cue to give yourself that experience again in imagination. Let yourself go back and have that leave that impression again in imagination. Yeah. And I know it could feel frustrating, because again we got to remember that the linear time isn't real, so we're living moment to moment, and every moment is a different state of consciousness. So if at any time we notice I'm waiting or observing the 3D, looking for signs, anything that implies I don't have it, it's not here, that's your cue. Give yourself the experience again in imagination. Go back to imagination. 70 times 7, as Neville would say. Do I need to live in imagination? And how do I know what I did wrong when my manifestation doesn't work? Good question, Jamie. So, do we need to live in the end in imagination? I mean, ideally, yes. We want to be continuing to go there in imagination, what like as frequently as possible, um, without force. Again, we're not trying to force ourselves to go to the end, but yeah, this is a practice of conjuring and building that and occupying that state first in your mind before it becomes externalized, right? Because we can go anywhere in imagination. We can do anything. So, whatever perceived limitations of the 3D don't exist in imagination. So, we can give ourselves the experience that we desire to have in imagination at any time. And it's that experience, it's that feeling in imagination that leaves the subconscious impression. That's how we select states. We've just been doing it subconsciously this whole time. And how do we know what we did wrong? Um, if you're not sure where things have kind of gone off the rails or what's been happening, pay close attention to your mental diet. Pay very, very close attention to your mental diet because it will become very, very clear and apparent if we are observant, if we are paying attention, if we are aware of what we are thinking, feeling, how we're reacting, that's going to be cues as to what state have we been occupying, like actually occupying, not just because again, we could think that we're living in the end, but if through observation we can see that we spend maybe collectively 30 minutes of the day living in the end and the rest of the time it's not here. Where is it? What am I doing wrong? You know what I mean? And the rest of the time we're basically not living in the end. So pay close attention to the internal world, the mental diet, because it will become apparent. Like, and I hate to use the words like what we're doing wrong, but yeah, it will be made clear through observation. You are so welcome. How to manifest two things at once, main/secondary. Good question. And thank you again for the super chat, Brooke. How do we manifest two things at once? I mean, we're manifesting multiple things all the time, right? Uh, whatever those things are, right? So you've got this one area of life that you're desiring to manifest and then another. go to both, right? Like, imagine being in both. Imagine, like, what it would feel like if and you can even combine the 2 worlds, right? Like, for example, if you're trying to manifest an SP and a successful business, you can imagine things like telling him that you hit a milestone in your business, right? And having that congratulatory talk with him, going on a vacation together that you paid for with, the earnings from successful business. I'm using this purely as example, but we can construct worlds within worlds within worlds in our imagination. So we can take our main desire and our secondary desire, and we can construct all sorts of things, which would mean that both of these things are real in my world, right? If I desire wealth and I desire an SP, I can combine those two. I can construct things in my imagination that implies that I have both of these things, that I am abundant and I am loved by SP, right? I hope that makes sense. Did I miss? Oh, Kiko, thank you for the super chat. Oh my God, you guys. You're too nice. You're too nice. Thank you. Oh God, I have no idea where I was. I'm so lost in the chat. I'm so sorry if I missed a bunch of questions, guys. Um, Umbriku. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My reactions slash beliefs have gotten in the way of successful imagining recently to the point where I stubbornly want to give up on persisting in my imagination. It really makes me doubt what should I do. So your reactions and beliefs have gotten in the way of successfully imagining to the point, yeah, yeah, and I think that happens to virtually everybody in this journey. Um, our reactions and limiting beliefs really intrude on us and impede our ability to live in the end. Um, what I did personally was I started to change the perspective of how I was looking at this. And what I mean by that is I started to for a moment there, I had to give up on the idea of changing the 3D. Like, instead, it was all about going to this place in my imagination because it was my sanctuary. It was my escape. It felt good to do it. Like, when I truly approach this from the place of I just want to enjoy the feeling of it, that's when things got considerably easier and resistance practically melted at that point. Because when we're trying to like force ourselves to like, oh, impress this thing so I can have it in the 3D, that's where the ego comes up. That's where the ego says, no, we're not changing anything. We're going to keep it exactly how it is. And that's where it could become internal battles. So if it feels incredibly, if it frustrated, I'm ready to give up, I can't do this anymore, just scrap the idea of manifesting for a few days. Just scrap the idea of manifestation for now and just let yourself play in imagination. Just let yourself play in imagination. Just to say, like, what would it be like? Like, genuinely, what would it have been like? How would it feel if? What if? What if? Right? And just if we take the approach of doing this to feel good, doing it more lighthearted. And again, I know that obviously this is something that is very big to us. There's a lot of weight to it, but sometimes we have to change the perspective of how we're looking at this. So we don't continue to hit that wall of resistance over and over and over again. I hope that makes sense. Because I mean, think about it this way. If you had the choice in any moment to imagine something terrible that made you feel bad or imagine something lovely that made you feel good, what would you choose? I mean, there's literally nothing to lose by letting ourselves imagine a lovely thought, imagine a lovely scene, to let ourselves get carried away in a lovely idea. There's literally nothing to lose. The worst case that happens, you feel good for a moment. You know what I mean? So yeah. Perhaps if you're hitting a lot of resistance, try to change the perspective a little bit. If nothing else, to just break apart that resistance for a moment. Yeah. Hi, Missy. When revising, how can we know the revision has been successful if we're not supposed to check it in the 3D? Good question, Serena. Um, we know the revision has been successful because when we think of the memory, it will be the revised memory that comes up first, right? When you have successfully revised something, it should be the natural first thing that comes up when you recall that event is the revised memory. If it's still that old memory or if there's still a lot of attachment to that old memory, then we want to continue to revise it. Yeah. It's and the same thing can even be said about the future manifestations. We can tell by our reactions. We can tell by the first thing that naturally comes up for us. That initial subconscious reaction is telling you what the belief and assumption is that you hold, right? Whether that be from a revised memory or anything else. Yeah. Note your reactions. Note your internal gauges. So those are going to be much more reliable than the external ones. Sorry, guys. Trying to keep track of where I was. Got some movement with my SP. Just wanted to say I did your SP meditation and she reached out when I checked my phone. I couldn't believe it. Really got into the state of the wish fulfilled. Wonderful. That's awesome, John. Yay! Yay! I love to hear it. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Hold that feeling. Hold that feeling in consciousness. Hey, Missy, being nosy, but is your SP aware? Is he a conscious creator as well? Did you tell him that you manifested? uh, yeah, you can be nosy. That's fine. That's fine. Is my SP aware of the law? Yeah, yeah, he's aware of the law. And is he a conscious creator? I mean, yeah, everyone's a conscious creator. Naturally, everyone is a conscious creator. And did I tell him that I manifested him? Yes. Yeah, he knows. He knows. We still get a good laugh out of it. XSP. My ex has unblocked me. We had a 2-hour FaceTime call and he told me he loves and misses me. Oh, however, third party is still around, I think. Do I need to keep persisting? Do I need to keep persisting now that he's reached out? Thanks. Yes. 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 Yeah. Do not go back to the 3D, guys, ever. Once your manifestation does show up, like once you get movement going, one of the worst things that we do, and I've totally done this too, is revert our attention right back to the 3D. It's like we forget everything that we learned about the law and like right back to the 3D. Don't do it. No. Keep persisting. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Yes. That is amazing. That is so amazing. Your like he reached out, told you he loves you. However, third party is still around, I think. What does I think mean? because I wouldn't think that if I were you. If what you mean is you're uncertain, like there's no 3D confirmation that the third party is still there, it's just an assumption that it is, I would drop that assumption. Third party's not there. She ain't there. Like, nope, nope, they gone. They went off to live their best life somewhere else. But yes, absolutely continue to persist. We're always doing this. We're always manifesting. This is not just techniques to get things, guys. Like this is who we are and what we do. So we continue to go and see what we desire to experience in imagination. And once that has come to pass, once that's been expressed, we continue to go back to imagination. What do we want next? What do we want to experience next? And keep going there. Keep going there. Yeah. But that's wonderful, Jackie. I love to hear that. I'm so happy for you. Can you do a video explaining how to use slash how often to affirm I remember when? I don't really get the gist of how often we say it or how we're supposed to feel. Thanks. Absolutely, John. Yeah. How to use how often to affirm the I remember when technique? I mean, we can use it as little or uh, as little or as often as we want, really. There's no set amount of we need to do this for X amount of minutes or hours or anything like that. Um, I mean, we want to frequent the state of the wish fulfilled. So if that technique is what helps you best to go back there, then as often as you remember, as often as you remember, if I'm understanding correctly. Da-da-da. How do we stay empowered after turning the videos off? And why do we still have doubts even though we have seen manifestations happening? Um, I would continue to build trust in yourself as the operant power. And because here's the thing, like, yes, you may have seen a million manifestations come to pass and you believe that it happens in certain areas, but like each time that you continue to go back to yourself as the operant power and remember who you are, like it's only going to strengthen that that knowing. It's only going to strengthen that reserve. So continue to go back to I am. Like you as I am is the operant power. It's not the videos that give us power. It's nothing in the 3D that gives us power. It is your own wonderful I amness. It is your awareness. Um, and we continue to show that to ourselves. We continue to prove that to ourselves. You know, through the observation of the day to day, we're going to see just how much the 3D and the imagination are linked, right? It's one and the same. How often we're actually manifesting. It's literally all the time. Like we're doing this all the time. And why do we still have doubts? Limiting beliefs about, this particular thing, right? If it's relationships, any limiting beliefs about relationships, things like that. Yeah. And that's why we want to continue to go to the state where you are already living your ideal life. You're already living your best life. You're already with your person and everything is amazing. Because once that is cemented as your dominant state, like, you're naturally going to be always going back and reverting back to that one instead of the old story. So yeah, continue to build trust and faith in yourself as the operant power, and that goes for everything. Like not just you're the operant power in some areas, you are the operant power, period. Period. And if there's still doubt, continue to go back and observe, continue to go back and like test it and continue to test it until there is no room for doubt whatsoever. How long does it typically take that you've noticed for people to almost fully impress the subconscious? I'm a little confused by the question, Brooke. How long does it typically take for people to impress the subconscious mind? Um, I mean, it depends on what. Yeah, there's many factors, many factors to that. How long does it take to fully leave an impression subconsciously? I mean, it could be anything, anywhere from instantly to. I mean, how long is a piece of string, right? Like, are we holding beliefs and assumptions that are in contrast with the desire? And that may be a different case entirely. Sorry, guys. Please make more revision videos. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I'm gonna keep telling you guys till the end of time if I have to. Revise, 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 revise. Do you think it's ever a good idea to not manifest someone back? Is it possible for someone to not be good for you? SP is divorced, but it makes me nervous. What if he was a bad husband to or ex? Good question. I think a lot of people have similar fears. Is it ever a good idea to not manifest someone back? I mean, if you believe that that's not a good idea, I wouldn't manifest anything that you don't think is a good idea, right? Um, but is it ever the case that somebody is actually like objectively bad? No, no. Is which version of your person are you talking about here? There's infinite versions of SP, so it's all subjective, all subjective. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you, E. Is only doing sats enough to manifest an SP? And what is your video on ego backlash called? I can't find it anywhere. All right, damn it. Let me look this up. Sorry, guys. Give me one sec. I should probably leave the link for this video in the description box going forward because I typically bring it up at least once every live Q&A. Hang tight, hang tight. What is that video called? Where are you? Why do we struggle to manifest? Understanding resistance and burnout when manifesting. Why do we struggle to manifest? Understanding resistance and burnout when manifesting. You know what? Hang on one second, guys. See if I can do this. There's that link for that guy. I just put it in the chat box. Yeah. But to answer your other question, is doing sats enough to manifest an SP? Yes. Yes. I mean, as far as is that all you need to do? Is there anything else you need to do? No. No. And you don't even need to do sats to manifest. But yeah. Do we need to do more techniques if that's what you mean? No, we don't have to. It's not the techniques that manifest. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. Thank you for the super chat, you guys. Should you stop seeing others if you're manifesting an SP? Should you stop telling friends about love life or SP if they assume you're 3D part of the day? Yes to the second part of that. Should you stop telling friends about your love life or SP? I would, especially if you're grappling with a lot of doubt, if you're grappling with a lot of fear. Um, uh, I wouldn't, because everyone is a reflection of you. Everybody is you pushed out. So you're going to hear confirmation from your friends about that old story, and hearing what you don't want. And if it's an easy trigger for you, if it's easy for you to, you know, feel disrupted from the wish fulfilled because of that, I wouldn't tell friends about love life or anything like that. Should you stop seeing others if you're manifesting an SP? I mean, this one is, a lot of people are going to have different conflicting views on this. Me personally, if you are feeling, so long as you're feeling okay, so long as you're not racked with guilt or um, anything like that, then I don't see anything wrong with it. Because if you know that it's done, if you are like cemented in the wish fulfilled, then whatever happens between now and in like when it unfolds, like you're just there for the ride. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, don't put your life on pause if you do not want to. Now, it's one thing if you would rather not see people, if that's something that genuinely you feel better not doing, then that's totally fine. But if you are putting life on pause and not doing anything, even though you would like to keep living your life, then live your life, right? And I know that could be challenging, like I said. If you're not having any issue, like, casually dating other people, like, I personally don't see anything wrong with it. But if it's something that you feel a lot of guilt or a lot of anxiousness or anything like that, then I wouldn't. It's really how you feel. You probably notice a theme here. It's how you feel. Thank you for the super chat. Oh my god, you guys. I Wow. I understand that with manifestations, we can travel through time slash space and move to different realities. But can we move back in time and identify with an earlier version of ourselves? Good question. So, can we move back in time and identify? I mean, is that possible? Yes. If we're talking, is it actually possible to do that? Yes. Now, to the degree that we can be convinced that we can do that is the other. That's a whole new story, right? That's a whole other thing entirely. So, because we manifest what feels most natural to us, right? We manifest what feels believable and natural, what we assume. So anything that feels so far out there, like outside of the realms of possibility, it can feel very challenging to, immerse yourself in that, if that makes sense. But is it possible? Yes. But to the degree in which we can naturally believe and assume that, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. Thank you again for the super chat, E. Can you recommend a scene to loop in Sats to make my SP more successful and responsible with finances? Um, See, I can uh more successful. Well, but here's the thing, like, I don't like to give the copy paste advice. Like, here's the scene that you need to do. Here's the tech, like, here you need to do this, because when it comes to techniques, it's all very subjective, right? Because what does success mean to you? Success for me can mean something completely different than what it means for you. Um, do you know what I mean? So it can be challenging for me to be like, here, use this exact scene, because if that doesn't resonate with you, if the scene that I come up with does not resonate with you, but you try to force yourself to use it anyways, you're gonna hit resistance. You're gonna hit resistance. So that's why, and I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be unhelpful at all. But I don't want you to just, take what somebody says and try to force yourself to use that. And that goes for everybody, right? This is about exploring and seeing what feels most natural for us and what resonates for us more than anything. That's going to be the technique that works best. Um, but I mean, as a general example, to give you a general example, if you would like a general example of a scene to like build off of, um, you know, imagine something like you two at the end of the month talking about how much money you have, how much more money you have, and how and congratulating him for being more responsible with his finances, right? That's just a very general example, but perhaps you can use that and build some more off of it. But yeah, I really do want to make sure that you guys are not trying to like force yourself to use like, oh, I was told to use this affirmation or technique and try to like force yourself with it if it doesn't resonate with you. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. It feels so good and satisfying to affirm and envision your ideal version of SP. Is that because it's already what our higher self experienced? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because what you are imagining, you are experiencing. Like, you are actually experiencing that. That's not fake. That's not make believe. I know we're all very conditioned to think imagination is like the fake world. It's not. It's definitely not. Not even close. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Happy Mind. Hi, Missy. I love your channel. Do you have any advice to get rid of an old story about my SP, my current partner, to select a new version of him in my reality? Negative emotions attached to old story. Absolutely. Advice to get rid of an old story about SP: revise it. Revise. And when I say revise it, you know, that means create a new story first. Like construct what the ideal version of your SP looks like, feels like, shows up as, and you can construct new memories just as much as you can like revise or change old memories. So I would, if it feels too overwhelming to revise each memory associated with that old story, I would construct a whole new story, just like you're a screenwriter and you're writing a whole new draft for a screenplay. And I would continue to imagine that. And I would continue to go to that. Because I mean, naturally there's gonna be negative emotions attached to the old story. That's yeah. Yeah, that's it's typically the case. So I would revise, and by revise in this case, if it feels overwhelming and you don't know where to start, I would just scrap the old story entirely, like write a whole new one. And you can go completely nuts. This is where we get to get creative. This is where we get to have fun with this. Do we do the revision during sets or can it also be during the day? It could be during the day. You can revise on the spot. Absolutely. I do recommend revising nightly before bed. It's just a fantastic habit to get into. Um, and yeah, there is something very solid about the hypnagogic state. So that's just my 2 cents. But you can absolutely revise on the spot or during the day. Yeah. Okay, I've got time for maybe one more question or so. Geez, the time went by so fast. How do you imagine without trying to change the 3D when you know it does change the 3D? The catch-22. The catch-22. Well, that's just it. That's just it, right? If we trust the law, if we trust in the knowing that what we imagine becomes the 3D, then it's not about changing the 3D. It's about changing yourself because the mirror is not gonna change the reflection until we change, right? Right? If the 3D is a mirror, which it is, it's going to reflect something different when we've changed something about ourselves, not beforehand. So, like Neville would say, like trying to interfere with the 3D or trying to continue to mess with the 3D before we change ourselves is like, breaking a mirror before changing your face. Just change your face. So I hope that's making sense. I hope I'm answering your question right. How do you imagine without trying to change the 3D? So so basically you're just allowing yourself to have the experience. Like you're giving yourself the experience because it feels good to do it. But if we're sitting there trying to make it happen in the 3D, that's when we get caught up in our head about, am I doing it right? Am I feeling it the right way? Am I doing this or that? Versus just letting yourself enjoy it for the sake of enjoyment. Like those are two very different things. Do you see what I mean? I hope that's making sense. But it's to alleviate that pressure. And if once we have full faith in the law, if we truly and genuinely trust the law, then what does it matter, right? What we imagine becomes a 3D anyways, just like you said. So enjoy the imaginal act. Enjoy the imaginal act. How can I manifest anxiety and anxious attachment away? See yourself as the very best version of you. What would it be like if you felt confident at all times? What would it feel like and be like as the version of you who felt secure in herself, who felt at peace? What would that be like? What would you be doing? What are some things that would imply that? Would you start a business? Would you go travel the world? Would you hear confirmation from your friends about how you're so outgoing, you're so funny? Oh my god, I haven't seen you this outgoing in years. Like what would imply that you are now a confident, secure, and at peace person? Like there's no more anxiety. And continue to build that up in your imagination. See, we can literally go anywhere and do anything. There's no limits. So we just need to ask ourselves, that version of me who already exists, who does not experience anxiety, who feels very calm and at peace and deeply secure within herself, what would she be doing? What would she be thinking? How would she be reacting? And just continue to build from there. Continue to build from there. Yeah, I appreciate you too. And on that note, you guys, I do have to get going, unfortunately. I really could just stay here all day and hang out with y'all. Thank you all so much. Sincerely, every single one of you. Much love. Thank you for being here. I hope to see you here next Sunday. But in the meantime, y'all have a fantastic rest of your week. And remember where to go. Remember where to go when everything's stupid out here. Remember where to go, guys. Much love.